You know, I've traveled around the world. You know, I've seen poverty at its worst. You know, in Africa and South America, Central America. I've seen it. You know, up close and personal. You know what you see on the TV commercials, but it's quite amazing that you don't have to get on a plane to see that. That we can literally drive 45 minutes up the road to Los Angeles and see poverty at its worst and the effects that it has on people's lives. For me, doing local missions was never, you know, really my heart. It was always more of doing global stuff and going and doing, you know, the crazy stuff all around the world. And as God really began to stir in my heart about, Shawn, there's people right in your backyard that that are living in the same situations that people all around the world are living in. And as God really began to stir in my heart in that, this opportunity came up to go to Skid Row. And at first I was, you know, do I need to go up there? What is this all about? I'm not really comfortable with this. This is definitely stepping out of my comfort zone here. You know, it's easy to say, yeah, we're gonna go feed the homeless and go hang out with homeless people, which is, you know, has this kind of romantic sound to it. But of course, that's uncomfortable. That's just not a normal part of my daily life, is to go and hang out with homeless people. You know, finally made the decision, okay, I'm just gonna go up and see what happens. You know, driving down the freeway, you know, get off on 7th Street, take a left, and a couple of streets over, then, you know, you're in Skid Row. You know, it's more the industrial part of Los Angeles. You know, a lot of vacant buildings. It's a little eerie, you know. I felt like I was in another country. It was crazy, you know. 45 minutes up the road, and I feel like I'm on a mission trip overseas. First night we were there, and to go tell all these people, hey, we got a big thing of soup. Y'all come on. We want to give y'all some free soup. I in particular went up to one guy who was sitting in a wheelchair. His name was Zachariah, and just an angry man. He was angry. You know, as soon as I walk up, and the reason I walked up to him was just like, this guy needs somebody to talk to, you know? And that was hard for me at first, because I'm like, okay, what am I getting myself into? You know, am I gonna know what to say? Am I gonna know the right things to say? Zachariah is about 35 years old, grew up in New Orleans. Father was in a gang. He had grown up seeing tons of violence. After Hurricane Katrina, he came out to Los Angeles with his wife and his daughter. 6 months from the time that he was out here, his wife and his daughter were murdered by one of Zachariah's friends. Zachariah's in a wheelchair. The reason he is in a wheelchair is he was shot in the chest with a shotgun, and during some gang-related activity, so paralyzed from the waist down, and living on the streets in a wheelchair. You know, at first, really didn't want to talk. It was kind of, felt like I was invading his space and invading his privacy, yet for some reason, he was just wanting attention though too. I think the most powerful part of us being there and being present with Zachariah was that we listened to him, and that he genuinely saw that we cared. And it was pretty interesting, you know, during that 30-minute conversation, how something just kind of began to change. His countenance, his face. He, you know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the conversation, he began to smile. You know, he smiled for the first time. You know, I punched him on the shoulder. I was like, there it is, you know, there's that smile, you know. And he just kind of began to just joke around, have a good time. So the fact that we were just sitting there talking to him, and being there and listening to him, something began to change. I couldn't relate to anything that he experienced. I couldn't relate to one thing that he experienced. However, I was there, and we talked. One of my learnings from, you know, this experience, and even over this last season of my life, has been that I have a tendency to walk in a spiritual arrogance, and that there's some pride in my life, and you know, God's called me out on it. you know? And he's continually breaking me over that. And knowing that, hey, who am I to lord over, you know, my spiritual walk? You know, who am I to cast any amount of judgment? So from Skid Row, in this experience, I'm learning how to walk in a lot of grace and look at people and know that that they need to be loved, and that in spite of what they're experiencing and what they're going through, that doesn't keep them from the love of God. Those people need to be loved too, you know? And that's what we've been called to do, is go to love. That's it. That's all we're supposed to do, is love people, you know? So God has done something radically in me, saying, Shawn, like, you know, the least of these are right in the backyard. You don't need to step on a plane. You don't need to step on a plane to go find the least of these. They're right. They're next door neighbors to you. I'm definitely planning on going back. Definitely planning on being very much a part of the ministry that's going on Skid Row.